Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. Bugsy Malone's over there. She's annoying me. I've asked her several times to stop barking, and she just, she thinks it's the Bugsy Show. It probably is for a lot of you. Guys, I hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things you love. For those you love to do them with, please do me a favour. Smash the like button for me on the video. Smash the subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's topics. We're probably going to have to veer away for a little bit, at least, from the Ange narrative. I feel like I've said my piece on that. I do feel like I've probably annoyed an entire continent of people down under by saying I feel like he's had enough rope. I understand and empathise with the injury crisis. I do. I get it. But at the end of the day, there are no asterisks in life, only scoreboards. And look, you can't shake the numbers when you see that basically 50% of all the games that he's been in charge of have been losses. Like, I get the loyalty to your guy, but if this was anybody else other than Ange, you too would have the same vibe as people that don't have the same affiliation to his nationality, and that's a reasonable, fair comment. Either way, I have probably annoyed an entire continent. And then I go across to North America, and I've probably lost half of them too for daring to say any chance that Daniel Levy can find a way to pay the money and put the right words in the right order to relieve the relationship between Pochettino and the US MNT. Because if I'm on board the idea that the guy before the guy has to probably go at some point soon, then the guy after the guy before the guy, who is that guy? Well, I'd probably like to see Poch in, and that is going to be annoying and has been annoying for many of the the American fans. So who's left? Well, you got the moderates who are overwhelmingly pivoting towards Levy out. And, my relationship with Levy out is a funny one. People seem to think, that they say all the time, I'm a Levy defender, I'm a Levy whatever. Well, I'm sure you've seen it. Apparently I'm a saboteur of the protests. The most ridiculous bozo comment I've ever heard in my entire life, when all I do is say I support the protest. I think it's a necessary and correct way to lean pressure. I just don't personally subscribe to this notion that it will lead to a direct and tangible outcome of him selling the club. There's no demonstration of that. If I'm a saboteur of movements created by people who now advocate for trophy failure and for relegation, then yeah, shoot me. I think that people who feel that way have lost their mind. I really do. Maybe they haven't lost their mind. Maybe it's all part of a very sophisticated game of clicks and views. Who knows? Either way, like I say, my takes this week have pissed off many people. I don't care. It is what it is. I'm not gonna. I didn't get into the content game to say what other people want to say. I just got into it to say what I want to say. So you like it or don't, it doesn't really bother me. Anyway. Let's get away from that for a little bit, at least. Let's talk about some transfer news, views, and clues. And the Tottenham revolution, the youth revolution, according to the reports, is still very much part of the plan. A player today that has been linked with us, who, I'll be honest, I think that if he came by any other surname, then people wouldn't be bigging him up as much as they are. They are right to big him up because he does look like a phenomenal physique, a phenomenal athlete with a hell of a lot of technical skill, a hell of a lot of creativity, an absolute box-to-box beast. And, where would you prefer to sort of highlight the best parts of his game? Is it in his defensive work, his ability to get back and tackle? Is it his stamina, his pace, his strength in the tackle and resisting the tackle? Or is it his unbelievable ability to find the top corner when the opportunity presents itself? I'm not sure. I think he is that balance of a player that you can easily spend 10 minutes talking about how good he is at his current level with the ball or without it. And of course, I'm talking about JOBE Bellingham, brother of Jude, who's clearly one of the best midfielders and box-to-box players in the world. The two are very, very similar. Obviously, just one of them at the moment is, yards ahead of the other. But the other has every chance to go on to a sensational career. And, the links for him coming to Tottenham are not new. They've been around the block. He's 19 years old. He's having a very good season and is a player that I do believe will be in the Premier League very soon. Do I believe he'll come to Tottenham? Not really, although I'm not against the idea, but I do think that with Tottenham fans having expectations of punching above, I believe, our realistic weight in most aspects of the game, I would also say that that will probably extend to what we expect from this particular player, should he end up at Tottenham, purely because of what his brother and what that name represents. And I don't know if necessarily I want to hitch my wagon, is that the phrase? Hitch myself to the wrong wagon? I don't know, whatever the phrase is. I'm really bad with phrases at the moment. I don't necessarily think it's a good idea for me to sit there and say that I'm prepared to align myself to this notion that we should be going, oh, we're out to get this guy. I do think he's a real talent. I really do. I really like what I'm seeing from him, and I think he's got all of the promise and all the potential to make it at the top. I'm not even sure of what the transfer market valuation is. I didn't get a chance to look this morning, but the links are there that Tottenham are thinking about making a move, and we are in the shortlist of teams that are reasonable candidates to take it to sign him, and we shall see. We shall see. Let me know in the comments whether or not you think that Jobe Bellingham has any relationship with, a future top Premier League midfielder. I'd make the argument that if we're going after a player like that, you're not going to play him as a 6. You're going to play him as a box-to-box. Please stop barking, mate. Please. Sorry, guys. I just wonder whether or not we kind of need that sort of player when we have so many midfielders that are already 8s, that are already non-specific, not necessarily creative enough to be in the 10, not necessarily defensive enough to be in the 6. I do really like him, and I think, like I say, I think he's going to become a Premier League player. But I would imagine that at this stage of his career, if he was to get the move towards a Premier League team, I would imagine his initial move would probably be a team that is more predominantly known for being, like a 10th to 15th sort of team, maybe like a Crystal Palace. Maybe, if Tottenham were to go after an Adam Wharton, could you see Birmingham sell to Crystal Palace as the replacement? And then would Tottenham fans be, regretting the fact that we should have just gone for Jobe Bellingham should Adam Wharton get injured in his first 5 minutes in the Tottenham shirt and Jobe Bellingham go on to become a monster? I'm not sure. For me, like I've said recently, I'm all for this youth revolution. I really do like it. I think this guy's got 4 goals and 4 assists, or 3 goals and 3 assists in the Championship this season. But like I say, if you go and watch his highlight reel, if you get on the Y Scout and you take a deep dive into him, you'll see that it's a sort of toss-up between his best moments defensively, because some of the tackles he's put in, some of the ability to get back at pace and make that last-ditch effort, he really does look like a player that comes and is cut from the same sort of cloth. The apple doesn't fall far from the sibling tree. Should we call that an orchard? I don't know, or whatever. But listen, I really do like him. I just don't know necessarily whether it's something that Tottenham directly need right now, and whether or not it's something that Tottenham will go after in a revolution of youth when we already have quite a lot of players that are already unclear as to what their best positions are. On that matter, by the way, do let me know in the comment section, what do you see of Pape Sarr? I mean, I think most people rate him, most people like him, but are people frustrated like I am with his inability to keep his head focused when he's distributing the ball? Are people looking at him more as like an engine and a stamina beast, someone who can spread the game? Or do they see the potential for him to develop into someone that can be a meaningful and stable part? Because I think that he has so much talent and potential, but again, it's one of those horses for courses. In this particular system, I don't know where he fits. In a more traditional system, I think he has a lot of room for a role, but I don't think he is anywhere near accomplished enough or consistent enough at the A, B's and C's of what a box-to-box needs to be with his distribution. His ability to intercept, anticipate and cover blades of grass is phenomenal. I just need to see more from him. Lucas Berghvall, another player I want to get your thoughts on, guys. Where do you see him in a system that doesn't involve this kind of inverted fullbacks where you don't need a 6? In a system that's beyond Ange, right? In a different system, a system that maybe Poch would employ, maybe Iriola would employ, maybe a Marco Silva, or even a Terzic would employ him. But remember, Terzic is like one of these guys that can do everything, right? He's like an Eddie Howe. He's happy to be, he's got enough time on the training ground to put in a plan A, B, C, and D. Let me know your thoughts, right? Where do you see Berghvall, however you say his name? Do you see him as a 6? Do you see him as an 8? Do you agree with me that he needs to calm down? He's a brilliantly exciting player, great peripheral vision, but does he need to kind of relax a little bit on the sort of aggressive side of his game until he can become more, I guess, respectful of the threat of yellow cards? Because at the moment I see him as a risk in most games to going down to 10 men if he isn't careful, and he needs someone around him to calm him down during the games. What about Bentancur? Do you see him moving on? What about someone like, obviously, Archie Gray moving into the 6? Bissouma. How much space do we need to create to make room for a Joe Bellingham? Let me know your thoughts. I really like the player. I just don't know if it's right for us right now. But I'd love to get your thoughts on that one. Next story, guys, is a striker, Moises Keane. I'm not sure how his first name is. Ex-Everton player, now playing for Fiorentina. 15 goals in 22 appearances this season for Fiorentina. An absolutely remarkable transformation, a transition. This player, he's 24 years old. He's not old. It feels like he's been around 4 years. It was quite a while ago he was at Everton. Didn't really have it about him playing in the Everton system. I think it was under Sean Dyche. And look, I think he's one of those players that's like a horses for courses. In Fiorentina, he's absolutely smashing it. And I believe if you actually go and watch him on the Y Scout, or just go and do the YouTube and just look at his season thus far, he's a monster. He's fast. He's strong. He's built like an absolute beast. He's got thighs as big as McGinn's at Aston Villa. He can play off the right foot. He can smash it off the left foot. He wins most things in the air. He's not afraid to get back and tackle. And when he does, he's very effective at dispossession. He has incredible footwork for a big guy. And he looks like a different guy to the guy I remember. Now, I don't watch too much Serie A, as you know, if you watch the channel, not a fan of the league. And therein lies my suspicion that he is a horses for courses type of player. Think about Romelu Lukaku, how good he was, how good he can be, all of his assets, all of his strength, all of his phenomenal physique and athleticism, and how that in the right system with the right motivation of the player can manifest into incredible output. But you put him in the wrong system, or he's playing in games that don't fit. I think he is the epitome of a player that can look like a £100 million player and also can look like an absolute flop. And I think I worry a little bit about Moises Keane, whether or not his effort, his output, his performance is sort of not shadowed or shaded by, but a concern, something you have to, a consideration as to whether or not, why was it that he didn't work out at Everton? Why was it that he wasn't spectacular? Was it because the league wasn't a good fit for him? Was it because of the football? Was it because of Everton's style of play? Was it because of his inexperience? But for sure, if you go and look at the version of him that's available at Fiorentina right now, then most people would go, he's kind of a perfect fit for most models of football. If you need a tall target man, you've got it. If you need someone to run into the flanks, you have it. If you need someone who can finish his dinner, he certainly looks like he's in a wave of confidence that does give you reassurances that you're not really going to see too many situations in which his skill set is a bad fit. But I just don't know, because of my lack of attention in the Serie A generally, as to whether or not he is the right guy. However, if it means getting rid of Richalison and bringing him in, I'd be on board it. At the same time, though, is he big enough name for you? Let me know in the comments. Sorry, guys, you know I'd love to do one take Tottenham. I had to just sort of drop out of that for a split second. There was a nightmare. Anyway, back to the story. Moise Keane, we're going to move away from. We're going to talk about, is he a player that is capable? Is he a player that is going to excite you? Is he a big enough name? I would argue that probably most people are going to sit there and say, when are we going to sign our monster? And for me, I think, look, if you want monster names, you have to pay monster price tags. And as I've been saying for a long time, I believe that Tottenham's summer window will include a record transfer fee for a Tottenham player that has been paid. I really do think that we're coming to that kind of part of the journey now, whereby you don't need 10 players in a summer, or 9 or 7 or 6 players in the summer. I think you're going to be seeing Daniel Levy move the needle towards demonstrations of what the budget can now align. Now, a lot of people would say that the January transfer window, the last bit of business that was done, Matisse Tell, I think that was a realistic bid. Obviously, there was the details and the complications of the deal, and the player not necessarily wanting to commit immediately. But I think that the bid of 56 or 60 million was legit. Mark Gahey, probably not so, right? Like a legit bid, but not really any expectation of getting something done. That would have been a record signing, £70 million for Mark Gahey. I don't know if we'll go back to that drawing board in the summer. If we do, I would expect to pay more, probably £75 million. But either way, if not him, I do expect to see a record signing at Tottenham this summer. Now, does it come in the shape of a striker? We shall see. I do expect Richalison to move on. And that's where the final story of today comes from, which is a report out from Give Me Sport, an exclusive, that says that sources are looking at getting rid of 2 of 3 players, one of whom, well, the third of those 3, not even a permanent signing anyway, but Timo Werner out the door, going away. Richarlison and Sonny all being considered as surplus to requirements and probably time to sunset their journeys with Tottenham Hotspur, according to Give Me Sport. Let me know your thoughts. Sonny, £22 million could be the valuation that we could try to get from a Saudi Pro League if Tottenham were to decide that the extension was to give us enough chance to be able to liquidate some valuation. Of course, the Saudis would pay an absolute fortune in salary to Heung Min's son, because they would love to be able to capture the value that presents itself from the Korean market towards their ever-expanding, or attempts to expand, their brand into that particular region. Sonny would get probably something like £1 million a week plus, I would imagine, if he was to go to Saudi Arabia. I'm not necessarily advocating for it. I'm just pointing out that I think that there is always a price. And let me know your thoughts, whether you think Sonny will bite that bullet or bite that cherry rather, and sort of sunset his career. And how do you feel about that? Are you torn by your loyalty to him? Do you still think he is the player that he has the ability to be the player that he has been in the past? Is he just tired? Or is there just an obvious decline in his value as a left winger? Is it time to bring in the next? What about people like Udogie? They're due back anytime soon, aren't they? Anyway, Sonny is the first name on that list. Timo Werner obviously going to be returned to RB Leipzig, and Richarlison, because of his frustrating stop-start career at Tottenham, he seems to be very unhappy with his injury crises. He can't really get any kind of consistent form outside of last season, when he had 8 goals in 8 games when he first returned. But ever since then, it's one injury after another. And if he wants to try to get fit, try to make sure he's got a stake in the Brazil national team selection criteria for the 26 World Cup, then there's an argument to say he should be moved on, because Tottenham needs to move in a new direction. And I think most people would be happy to shake hands and say goodbye. If all 3 of those players are to leave Tottenham this summer, then that would release or free up about £500,000 a week in salary commitments. £26 million a season would be saved off the board, off the book, when it comes to releasing those 3. Now, for fans who say Tottenham Hotspur are always looking to cut the wage bill, it's an absolute embarrassment. Like I said before, I think that there are some connotations, some considerations, and some context to why people are pointing in that direction now, more so than ever. I think that the departures of Ivan Perisic, Eric Dyer, Harry Kane, Hugo Lloris, and Tanguy Ndombele all made a massive impact in that £35 million swing that should have been £25 million, because Tanguy Ndombele is considered paid off and paid off in one lump sum. Another £25 million off in those 3 players leaving the club, then what does that mean? Well, it means that Tottenham have the ability to not only spend the £180 million wiggle room that they have on FFP before they get close to PSR thresholds, even though that whole thing is going to be rewritten and changed up in all likelihood in the next week or 2 when they go to vote on the amendments to that policy. And we'll bring that story to you first here on Spurs Talk Show and also on Sean Butler TV. Make sure you smash the like and subscribe to that channel as well if you haven't already. But with that, £500,000 a week, not only do you have the ability to go big on transfer fees, you also have the ability to go big on salaries. And I know that most people will say, well, Daniel Levy has absolutely no willingness to do that. I believe that it's time. I believe that he will. I believe that you'll start to see a marked improvement in the average salaries that are coming in. I think you will see some bigger names coming in, a record signing. And with that, with the sunsetting of some of the senior players' careers, the wage structure can gently be increased without the fear of signing a player on a new record salary at Tottenham and then by proxy having to then raise up the likes of Harry Kane's or Sonny's salary as well. Those sorts of things are no longer necessary when most of the senior players will be shipped out this summer. So a new dawn can emerge with regards the recent trajectory regarding salary caps at Tottenham Hotspur. And I'm here for it. And that's why I also support your protest, because I think that the pressure that exerts on Daniel Levy, not to sell the club, but to try to relieve some of that pressure. I don't subscribe to the notion that he is thick-skinned. I think he's very thin-skinned. I don't think he likes or enjoys the nasty hatred that he gets at all. I think a lot of it is misplaced, misinformed, and undeserved. But I do understand why your frustrations and lack of patience now is wearing thin. And that is why I think that will culminate in a situation where this summer, and I could be wrong, but I believe that this summer you are going to see not only a record signing at Tottenham Hotspur, but a new highest paid player. Maybe even two. We shall see. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Moises Keane, and Bellingham. Them in? Who out? Let me know your thoughts on where Berghvall's best position is. Pape Sarr. Are you concerned about him like I am a little bit? What about Yves Bissouma? Is it time to say sayonara? What about Sonny? What about Richalison? And do you agree with me that this summer we'll be seeing a record transfer and not a record, but a new highest earner at the club? Let me know your thoughts, guys. Like, subscribe, and comment. I'll see you on the next one. And as always, bye-bye.